So now we're going to take a look at elimination questions with fractions. You're going to have fractions, you might as well learn how to deal with them. So let's take a look. What you want to do, of course, you're numbering your equations 1 and 2. What you want to do is you want to get rid of your fractions. The way to get rid of fractions is to multiply by the lowest common denominator. So what's the lowest common denominator of 2 and 8? Well, that's 8. And what's the lowest common denominator of 3 and 2? Well, that's 6. So number 1, we're going to multiply by 8. And number 2, we're going to multiply by 6. So let's do that. 8 times this is 8x over 2 plus 8 times that is 8y over 8. And 8 times that is that. And then here, I'll call that 3. And then here we're going to multiply everything by 6. So we've got 6x over 3 minus 6y over 2 equals times 6. All right, now let's continue. We're going to reduce all our fractions. And when we do, we're going to find we don't have any fractions because we multiplied by the lowest common denominator, which is why we did this in the first place. So 8 over 2 reduces to 4. 8 over 8 reduces to 1. You know there's a 1 there, we just don't write it. And 4 times 8 is 32. Here we've got 6 over 3 is 2. 6 over 2 is 3. And that is negative 12. And then you just continue on exactly the way you did before with elimination. Here we have 2 options, and it's interesting because previously we had these equations where we had to multiply both the top equation and the bottom equation by numbers to get a variable that had the same coefficients. Here we're only going to have to multiply one equation, because if we multiply this by 2, this will be 4, that'll be 4, we're done. Or if we multiply this one by 3, they'll both be 3 and we're done. So sometimes you only have to multiply one equation, sometimes 2. You just have to see how the numbers work out. So let's say we're going to multiply equation 4 by 2. So I'm just going to rewrite this one. And I'm going to write down here what I'm doing. Multiply by 2, right? So that's 4x minus 6y equals negative 24. Then I'm going to add these up. Well, that's really equation 5, I should say that. And then I'm going to add 3 plus 5. And that gives, I'm not adding. 4x plus 4x is not 0. I have to subtract. So I'm thinking out loud, so when you make a mistake like that, you see what to do. So 4x minus 4x is nothing. Y minus 6y is going to be that. And then here I've got 32 minus 24. So y plus 6y is 7y. 32 plus 24 is 56. Divide both sides by whatever the coefficient of y is, in this case 7. And we know 7 times 8 is 56. Then we would sub into one of the first 2 equations. So let's say I'll sub into equation 1. So I have x over 2 plus 8 over 8, because y is 8, right? And then I've got plus equals 4. So now I have x over 2 plus 1 equals 4. X over 2 equals negative 1 plus 4. Just continue here. X over 2 equals 3. Now, you can just look at it and figure it out. So, for example, you could say what divided by 2 is 3. You know the answer is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. However, when you have 2 fractions separated by an equal sign, you get to cross multiply. And you can turn any number into a fraction by putting it over 1 if it isn't a fraction. So let's do that. Let's cross multiply and see what we get. So 1 times x is x, and 2 times 3 is 6. And then you know how to do a left side, right side check and how to state your answer of 6, 8, assuming that it works out to be correct. There you go.